Hello everyone, welcome. This is a new series on my channel that I'm starting called A Book and a Beat. I'm going to be reviewing a book while doing my makeup. I thought it was pretty clever. So today we're going to be reviewing Credence. So let's get started. This book is about our lovely girl Tiernan, and one day she wakes up to her parents just no longer with us, okay? Basically, her father had cancer. Her mother could not imagine a day without him, so they both just decided to end it all. You're probably wondering, well, what about Tiernan? They don't care. They had a kid because they thought that was what they were supposed to do, but they really could give a fuck less about Tiernan. Tiernan was really bad out of shape because they didn't leave her a note. So Mirai, who we're introduced to in the beginning scene, is actually the assistant, the personal assistant of her mom. She basically raised Tiernan. She's trying to comfort her through all this, and then sitting in her bed, realizing that this house is not a home. And then her phone starts ringing, but not her actual phone, her burner phone that has absolutely no purpose being a part of the story at all, but it is. So she answers the phone and she's like, who is this? You know, like weird for somebody to be calling this phone. And it is dun, 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 Uncle Jake. Uncle Jake is the step brother of her father. They hated each other. So yeah, you're left with me, and I know that you're almost 18, so you can emancipate yourself, or you can come live with me and my two sons in the middle of nowhere in a cabin. And I know we're total strangers, but yeah, you could still do that if you want. And of course, like every other dumb-ass, stupid-ass main character, she goes. So she meets Uncle Jake, and immediately she's like, he's fine. Blondes aren't really my type. I think he was described as like a dirty blonde, so I'm more here for the dark-haired characters, which we'll get to that. But yeah, they stopped by at like a candy shop on the way, but I don't know, there's just like this weird underlying sexual tension from the jump between them. So we show up to the house, and this is where we meet Noah. And let me tell you something, everybody was so head over heels over Noah. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? He gave me the fucking ick from the moment he came on. It just always felt like he was sitting in the back waiting for his moment, like very predatory type behavior, not unlike the other two, but everybody just fell for it. Caleb, the other son, is brought up, and they're like, he's in. She's like, what the fuck is that? And turns out in means he's in the woods, because they hunt and kill their own food. Obviously, it wouldn't be this book if we didn't have a wonderful creepy interaction between Uncle Jake and Tiernan. He wants to reiterate that they're not related, again with the weird sexual tension. Tiernan and Uncle Jake seem to really be getting under each other's skin throughout the process of all of this. Some moments it is giving a little bit of a parental and child dynamic, but then you'll just get like random. We stared into each other's eyes and we were close, too close. And you're just like, okay, what the fuck is going on right now? The next couple weeks are spent teaching Tiernan everything that there is to know about the area and house chores and what she's required to have to do during her stay here. That's when we start getting into fights. She realizes that Noah is actually tolerable. She finds herself talking to him a lot. Noah and his father do not have a great dynamic. His father's very controlling when it comes to Noah and his activities. He doesn't really get to have a life outside of what his father wants for him. And this part of the book is the part that starts to get a little fuddled in my memory. I don't really remember what happens next, but somehow Tiernan ends up in the little shed area that they have where they hang deer they catch. So she ends up down there, and she's like in the middle of doing her laundry, because laundry should definitely be in the same room as the dead deer, but whatever. And boom, in comes the only character we haven't been introduced to yet, Caleb. He's got black hair. I was so happy. You don't even understand. I was just like, oh my god, there's too many blondes. I'm not feeling this. So Caleb comes in looking all rugged and rough. This is the part that I'm pretty sure gets everybody pressed about Caleb. I mean, I get it. He says absolutely nothing while Tiernan's trying to talk to him, and I guess he saw a nip. He went feral, guys. He threw her up against the wall, then against the car, and was about to have his way. Mind you, we're hearing Tiernan's point of view. She's kind of like, I don't not like it, but like, what the fuck is happening? How am I supposed to go about this? I don't understand. I don't know. And then finally she just smacks him. Noah comes running down and he's like, hey, yo, that's Dad's stepbrother's daughter. Like, we don't touch her. She's off limits. If she wasn't, would it have been okay that he just went at it? Like, what? Next day we just act like nothing ever happened. She ends up walking in on Caleb and this girl who she met going into town with Noah one day, walks in on them doing stuff, you know, and she's on her knees. I think you can put two and two together there. They end up just making really weird eye contact through the experience, and then she moans. She gets invited by Noah to go with them on their bikes somewhere, you know, spend time with other people in town. Caleb pushes her back to the house because, like, no, bitch, you're not fucking going with us. She listens, but she doesn't stay home for long. She ends up going to a lake by herself, and one of the guys who was, you know, in the biker gang with all of them went away from the group and wanted his chance to talk to Tiernan on, you know, his own terms by himself without the boys around, you know. Had the weirdest interaction in the freaking world. And then Caleb and Noah show up and Caleb has a shotgun. I don't understand. I thought you didn't like me. First I thought you liked me, then you didn't like me. Now you want to protect me. But what? Tiernan loses it. They end up going back to the house. Everybody's like, you better not F that man because he's got this wall of like girls that he's done in the past. She was like, you know what? I do whatever I want to do. Nobody tells you to not do stuff. Because they have like a slew of girls just constantly coming in and out of the house. It's like, I want my fun too. But they're like, no, you're ours. I just want to take this time to go ahead and remind everybody, Tiernan is 17 and she's still in high school. So just letting you guys know, nobody in this book other than Tiernan is a minor. There's that. Some more stuff happens that's not really important, and then Tiernan's birthday happens. We realize, holy shit, Caleb can make belts. I don't know how he does that in his room, but he can do that. He makes her a belt, and Noah says some wild shit per usual about the reason there's holes all the way up the belt is because they need a way to tie it around her wrists. I don't even fucking know. They're heading out for her birthday. They end up going to this bar and everybody's having a good time. She's there making friends with like a bridal shower, doing the little jukebox thing. I think that's what they're called. And then the song changes. People are shifting around. And Terrence, the guy who was like all in her business, and that girl that Caleb got with, they ended up cornering her and were like, oh, you need to come back with us. And I don't know, it was weird. She ended up having a panic attack. She was like getting lost in the crowd. They were trying to snatch her up. Caleb like shows up out of nowhere, caresses her face, and then defends her honor and starts beating up everybody. And then he's getting jumped, and then Uncle Jake is like, everybody get in the car, and her and Noah get the fuck out of there while Uncle Jake goes back to make sure that Caleb doesn't RIP. This marks the beginning of the winter. Yeah, they're running away from this biker gang and cops. Fun. This is when the real shit starts happening. Literally that night, the boys decide to watch a movie. An adult film with Tiernan, who just turned 18. And one thing leads to another. Okay, these motherfuckers are nasty as shit. I swear to God. You need to read that scene. Go ahead and have fun. It's just like, but nothing happened. Nothing like really happened, you know, because Uncle Jake comes down and he's like, what the fuck is going on? What is this? Y'all two to your room. Tiernan, you stay right there. And she gets her punishment. Yeah, little love taps on her butt. So I guess Uncle Jake, he was a little jealous. So they go out to hunt one day. They're teaching Tiernan how to hunt because you know what? She's gonna have to carry her weight around here. It's the winter time. We're gonna have to have food and you need to kill deer. She can't do it. She doesn't want to do it. But Uncle Jake is basically like, once he's done yelling at her, he kind of encourages her in in a way that's nicer. And it's like, look, I just want to make sure that if anything happens to me, you're able to take care of yourself, you know? Do it for me. So she does it, and then she starts crying, and she's like, I did it because I wanted to impress you. Why do I care about what you think? Needless to say, that whole interaction turned into him wiping her tears and curing her sadness, but with his downstairs. And this is the first time Tiernan will ever have had woohoo. Her step-uncle Jake took her V-card in the back of his truck, mind you. They make it back to the house, and the boys are sitting on the couch while they came in looking like they just did it, okay? And all hell breaks loose. Tiernan goes upstairs. Uncle Jake is confronted by Caleb and Noah. They're like, what the fuck? Noah's like, I like her. Why did you do that? Caleb was all over her, like, a few months ago. Caleb got first dibs if anybody did. Uncle Jake's like, well, I'm not gonna share her with my sons. Then he's like, well, whatever, makes her happy, whatever she chooses. Noah's like, well, you know, if she wants it, I'm not gonna tell her no, so I hope you know that. Weird ass fucking behavior. Uncle Jake ends up opening up to Tiernan because no, they did not just do it once, okay? I know you probably thought maybe he would come to his senses. No, he did not. He opens up about his first love and why he does not mess with this girl's father. Basically, his first love is no longer with us, and that's all thanks to Tiernan's parents. So Uncle Jake and Tiernan continue to just keep doing what they do. Very intimate moments between the two of them. I'm just like, wow, okay. Definitely Noah is next door, so I don't know how Noah's feeling about all this. Like, he can hear everything. Oddly enough, Noah's not the one who finds them. She just got done doing it with Uncle Jake again in the shower, and he most definitely released inside. Essence is dripping from her. She's out in the hall. Who intercepts her on her way to her room? Caleb. He's here smoking a cigarette, being a nosy ass bitch, basically. And Tiernan's like, what? Obviously, Caleb doesn't say anything. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but yeah, Caleb doesn't say anything. Caleb doesn't talk because emotional damage. Emotional damage! He just ends up grabbing her panties that she dropped. She tries to snatch them away. He gets aggressive and angry, you know, per usual. Backs her into her room, slams her onto the bed, grabs a marker and writes, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but her forehead. Needless to say, they were not on good terms. Next day, everybody's acting like a big happy family. Uncle Jake's acting like he wasn't just balls deep in Tiernan, and Noah's acting like a big brother. Caleb kind of decides to start a fight. He ends up knocking something over on purpose to pour her milk all over her. Uncle Jake kind of interferes. She's like, no, it's fine. That's how babies communicate. Right, Caleb? They can't use their words, so they just, you know, throw a fit. First of all, not only did he pour milk on her, but he also threw his oatmeal onto her face. When she kind of came at him, he flipped over the table and then just walked out and went to go in. We remember what that is from the beginning. Okay, yeah. He ends up coming back. Tiernan finds some furniture that she ends up working on. That's going to be important later. And Uncle Jake has to leave. He has to go into a cabin that they have deep in the woods to go do something. I don't fucking know. Tiernan and him are still very much involved. I want to reiterate that. The boys are left home alone with Tiernan, and Noah's awoken in the middle of the night to Tiernan screaming bloody murder and Caleb running downstairs to calm her down. She's been having night terrors since she got there. It happens in her sleep, so she doesn't know that Caleb is here, like, holding her every night. And Noah was not aware of that until he just saw it with his own fucking eyes. He's like so confused. He's like, well, since when has she been doing that? Like, how long have you been doing this? Like, what is happening right now? And then next thing you know, he's smelling smoke and there's a fire out in the back and they gotta put it out. Tiernan wakes up and goes out there to try to help, but she ends up getting cut. Caleb has to stitch her up, and then in order to deal with the pain, they have to slap her. Wild. But then they have to shower her. And this is when shit gets crazy. Everything they started that night, you know, with the movie, they finish it. She was totally not focused on Noah. Even though he was very much involved in the escapades the three of them had together that night, girl was focused on Caleb. Like, it was so bad. That's why I'm like, I don't understand. Y'all love to rant and rave about Noah. What? Why? Well, anyway, Uncle Jake comes back and he's like, what the fuck? I leave you guys for a day and this shit happens. But they find out the fire was started on purpose by some crazy fucking person who decided to climb up the mountain. And Tiernan's like, I thought nobody could get up here. Well, they were wrong. Eventually, while Uncle Jake is checking her wound, she ends up confessing that she had relations with both his sons while he was away. He just wanted to make sure that they took care of her and they were good to her. And she was like, yeah, and that was it. Like, he was like, oh, okay. What the fuck? But let me tell you something. That night, Caleb fell in love. I guess he was entranced by the pom-pom because he came back for more. And she was like, no, because she knew she was in love with him. Her heart knew it, but she didn't want to admit it. He's like, I want to kiss you. And, well, he's not saying it. He's just like, it's the vibe. He kind of comes on to her while he's helping her build a tree for Christmas that's around the corner. Again, he's a little forceful with it, but she eventually does give it in. She realizes, this is my man's. I don't want anybody else. This is it. Even though we don't hear him talk, he's clearly came to the same conclusion. They end up joining the casa again. Noah's back on his bullshit, wanting to fucking touch her up, and then he says that he wants to get her pregnant so she can't leave. And Caleb is on it, okay? He, pretended to be nice, caressed her, told Noah to get the fuck out the kitchen, grabs her, takes her to her room, and locks her in the motherfucking room. He, dead bolted it. I don't know when he put that shit there, but he did. She was, screaming for hours, this jealous fucking asshole. Because Caleb doesn't talk, his point of view comes, but it's in third person. We realize that he's obsessed with her and in love with her, but also hates her because she's constantly flirting with Noah and his father. He ends up doing stuff to her in her sleep. Then he gets angry and she wakes up and she's like, oh my god, yes, I want this, even though he did it without her permission at first. She thinks that he's making love to her, and it turns out he's just very angry, so he's taking it out on her, getting very aggressive, and he's treating her like what he wrote on her forehead, okay? She's like, no, stop, get off me. So she runs into Noah's room, and because she runs into Noah's room, obviously Caleb has lost his fucking marbles, and he's like, what the fuck is she doing in his room? He goes, and you remember those pieces of furniture that she was working on? Yeah, well, destroyed. She goes down there and sees it and starts going ape shit on all the furniture. She's like, this just reminds me of when my parents used to throw away my art as a child. After she's done exploding, Caleb comes down and everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? Because there's a lot of commotion in the middle of the night. Caleb makes it known before he walks out to go into the woods again and disappear. He says mine in sign language. He just made sure to pee on his territory before he left. Uncle Jake is like, yeah, well, Caleb's in love with you. She's like, fuck him. You see what he just did to my furniture? With them, time heals all wounds. She eventually gets worried about him. He's been in there for weeks. She goes up to his room and sees that he has a bunch of books everywhere. She opens up these books because she's like, I've never seen him reading, and sees that he's been writing diary entries basically in these books, and some of are about her. She realizes that he's been there all along. So she starts to feel bad and she's like, I need him back. That's my man's. So she gets Noah up in the middle of the night, coerces Noah into helping her. But the thing is he doesn't even know where he's going. He's never gone to this cabin. They did eventually find Caleb after they both almost died in the frickin' storm. Him and Tiernan made up. They were all kissy, kissy, huggy, huggy. They ended up going back. Tiernan had ended up thinking that she might have been pregnant, but she got her period, so it's okay. She went to the mirror to see oh, what would I look like if I was pregnant? And boom, in burst Caleb and Noah, and they're like, ooh. Caleb went and tried to throw away her birth control. Girl, I was just, okay. I was like, we doing too much now. Y'all are children. Literal children. He's 22 and you're just freshly 18. Calm down. Sit down somewhere. Now. You would think that everything would be fine, right? And now it's happily ever after. Well, no. Winter's over. And they end up going back into town. Y'all remember that girl that was on her knees? The bitch is pregnant. I mean, she is pregnant as fuck. Tiernan ends up thinking that Caleb was trying to get her pregnant to trap her in a relationship with him because he already knew that he got somebody else pregnant. It was a mess, but Caleb can't respond. He's not saying anything. Nobody knows whether that kid is actually really his or not. So Uncle Jake does the first smart thing he's done in, like basically ever. Everybody needs space. I think me and the boys are gonna go. We're gonna have a talk. Tiernan, you just stay here, you relax, have some time for yourself. So she does, but in her thinking process, she decides I'm packing because Mirai is actually on the way there to spend a few days with them. And she's like, so glad Mirai's coming because I'm gone. But in the middle of packing, she hears the animals freaking out. So she goes out there. Guess who's out there? Terrence. He's the one who set the fire. They're trying to blackmail her into becoming their sponsor and buying their shit because, she came from a rich family or whatever. But then he also wanted to take advantage of her. Tiernan, she was able to butt dial Uncle Jake, and so he answers. He hears everything going on, the commotion. They're on their way. But not before Tiernan uses her bow and arrow gift from Uncle Jake on her birthday, which I forgot to mention, sorry, to shoot Terrence in the arm. The boys finally come back, and Caleb's really, really worried about Tiernan, but then he sees that her bags are packed. So when Mirai shows up, Caleb brings out all her shit and shoves it in the car, basically telling her to go. She does. And it's a miserable couple of weeks. We find out that Noah has been in California with her the entire time and never approached her. Then Jake's at the house annoying Mirai, which, that's another fucking thing. Tiernan ended up telling Mirai about everything. About Uncle Jake being her first. About what she did with the boys. Everything. Mirai knows everything. And yes, somehow her and Uncle Jake still end up together. What the fuck? Very, very odd behavior, especially since you kind of consider yourself my mother figure. Great, Noah's here, Uncle Jake is here. There's only one person missing, and she thinks that he's in the woods. But guess what? He's in her backyard. They swing on the tire that he put up for her. And then he talks for the first time. And he says, I quote, "My home is where you are." Stop right now. But there's also an epilogue. So guess what? They end up having a baby. And everybody's at a camping trip. This shit is so surreal. Noah, Caleb, Tiernan, Mirai, Uncle Jake, the new baby. Just kicking it back, chilling, like y'all weren't just sharing Tiernan a few years ago. The ending was so weird, but I did like that she ended up with Caleb, and I know that a lot of people were not feeling that ending, but I'm sorry. How could you not root for Caleb? How can you not root for Caleb? Really? Oh, also, I totally forgot to mention this. His whole reason for not talking was basically he went with his mom on her little drug run, and she ended up spending 4 nights at this house and left Caleb locked in the car at 4 fucking years old. He had no food, no water, no air conditioning, nothing. He was just stuck in that car screaming, crying. No one could hear him. So he just stopped talking. And their mom was in jail. And she died at the end of the book. So the end. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This was wild. Honestly, if I really did a deep dive on this book, we would be sitting here for at least 2 hours. But I had to highlight the important stuff, leave out the fluff. It might be a little lengthy, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like there were multiple times the book should have just ended, but it didn't. It kept going. Join me next week, guys. I'm probably gonna put out about 3 videos. Let me not be an overachiever, okay? We'll stick to 1. We'll see if we can do 3. Don't forget to follow my Instagram and my TikTok because I'm posting more frequently on there. We got some new series coming out. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. I am gonna threaten you this time because I just feel like it works. I hope that everybody has a great rest of the week. I will be starting school soon, so wish me luck with that. Bye-bye now.